Hi, and welcome to another edition of Lectures Around Town with Professor Joe, exploring issues and connections to our classes in the Twin Cities, along the Mississippi River, and around the globe. This is for ENV 100, our Environmental Connections class, and we're focusing on trees this year and seeing what we can learn from trees, what lessons they have for us, and also what value they have, what things they do for us. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about ecosystem services. Now, ecosystem services may be an idea you've come across before. It's this idea that there are benefits that humans derive from functioning ecosystems. And things like trees or rivers or the atmosphere, the soil, provide all sorts of services to humans and obviously to non-humans as well. So I'm going to give you some examples of what those are from some sites around town, thinking about what is the value that trees have for us. So one of the wonderful benefits of trees is the shade and cooling effect that they have, and you can see that here on this street this is on 31st Street in the Longfellow neighborhood, and just the difference between being out in the sun there where that car is driving and being on this nice shaded street as I'm biking along. I can just feel the difference that these provide. And Minneapolis used to have this amazing canopy of elm trees that most of which have gotten killed off because of Dutch elm disease. But there are some where the neighborhoods are coming back and where there's still some pretty good urban canopy. This is looks like walnut or locust trees along here. They're doing pretty well, and it definitely helps on a hot day like this when we've got a heat advisory in Minneapolis. So one of the what are called ecological services that trees provide and are particularly important for urban areas and in the age of climate change. And also I'll share with you an article that just came out, a study that looked at the ways in which communities of color often end up lacking this kind of tree cover and are often much hotter and more susceptible to heat problems in urban areas in the U.S. Here's a quick screenshot of that article from the New York Times that shows how in Richmond, Virginia, the hottest neighborhoods were the ones that were redlined and were kind of excluded, segregated neighborhoods for communities of color, particularly African Americans living there. So, two other ecological services that trees provide are erosion control. Here you can see these trees on this steep bank on the river gorge, and their roots anchor the soil and help prevent the bank from eroding faster than it would otherwise. And so, just keeping soil in place is a huge challenge. Soil erosion, loss of topsoil, and the resulting problems with sediment in waterways. That's just a big problem. So trees are obviously incredibly useful for that purpose, along with other ground cover as well. And then the other ecological service, of course, would be carbon sequestration. That is, sequester means to hide or hold something. And so trees capture carbon through photosynthesis and hold it in their stored biomass in their trunks and other, in leaf matter too. And that's obviously a huge service when it comes to trying to reduce the impacts of climate change. as what we've been doing, of course, in the last, say 200 years, is taking a lot of that stored or sequestered carbon that's in the form of fossil fuels and burning it. First coal and then oil and natural gas. So anyhow, so trees help us with that service as well. Another key ecological service that trees provide, and here I am standing underneath a really nice grove of cottonwoods. I'll pan up here. These are down in the river gorge, and these cottonwoods love this wet, damp soil. And when those trees eventually die, they fall to the forest floor, and of course every year they're also depositing leaf matter, obviously in deciduous forests or in evergreen forests too. And that helps to create, that's broken down by bacteria, fungi that feed on that rich material and break it down into humus, and it helps to create soil. And so that is another thing that these trees do, is they actually, not only do they hold soil in place, but they create soil, they create food, and that becomes the basis for a really important part of the food chain here. Another role that they play is as habitat for thousands of different species. As you can see up in this tree here, there's a little set of holes there that are created by woodpeckers, probably going after insects that live in that tree. This is a part of a willow there that's still alive, but it's got some dead wood on it, and that's become home for ants and other maybe termites, other insect species. So that's yet another ecological service that these provide. Not just trees as individual trees, but forests as a whole in urban areas can provide places of refuge for wildlife, and we're starting to see more wildlife in the Twin Cities, particularly in areas like along the river gorge, such as this scene I witnessed recently along West River Road in South Minneapolis. So here's a site that you sometimes see here, some wild turkeys going into the river gorge here. Got a pretty nice population of them in the city, taking advantage of some of the wild space that's left. Well, I hope that gives you a sense that there are lots of different ways that trees help us out in the city and in all sorts of different settings. And I'd like you to think more about other kinds of ecosystem services that trees provide. I've given you a few examples, but obviously there's many more. So think about that in terms of the readings, maybe some of the other stuff we've seen online, and we'll spend some time talking about it more in class. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you soon.